Good morning, third graders, and welcome back to another Richmond Math lesson. My name is Mrs. Yeager, and today we're doing day one of SOL 316, and our learning target today is I can identify, describe, and create repeating and growing patterns. The materials you're going to need today are paper, pencil, and some squares. And remember a couple of weeks ago when we did this, I said to use blocks or Legos or Post-it notes, or you can even cut up your cereal box and make your own squares. So let's look at the learning target for today. I can identify, describe, and create repeating and growing patterns. Well, as I'm thinking about it, the two words that I'm thinking about are repeating and growing. Repeating is something that goes over and over and over again, and growing is something that gets bigger, or maybe it could grow smaller. So let's move on. Wait a minute, what happened to my screen? You forgot something. What's going on? You forgot. What? Stop, you forgot something. Wait a minute. Hold up now. What are all these messages? Something is missing. Mrs. Yeager, stop. What about the joke? Where is the joke? Oh my goodness, let's have our joke. Joke time. Why did the computer go to the dentist? Give up? It had a blue tooth. So silly. So what has been the pattern for our lessons? Well, I always start with a greeting. Then I tell my joke. Then I tell you what materials you're going to need. And then we talk about the learning target, and then we do the lesson. And I kind of messed up the pattern today, didn't I? I changed where the joke was, and we could all feel it. So would you call this, the pattern for our lesson, a repeating pattern or a growing pattern? That's right. It's a repeating pattern because I've been doing it for 10 weeks, 9 weeks, over and over and over the same way, except for today. So let's look at some more at repeating patterns. Here is a repeating pattern. I see it does a square, a right angle arrow, a down arrow, a square, up, square, right, square, down arrow, square, and up. Oh my goodness. How is that repeating? Can you tell where the core is of this pattern? Let's look at it one more time. Square, right, down, square, up. Square, right, down, square, up. Well, I see that this is the core because that's the part that repeats over and over again. So if I wanted to extend this pattern, what would be the next two shapes that I would show? Did you say square, right? That's right. Okay, now here's another one. I have square, square, star, star, square, star. Square, square, star, star, square, star. Can you see where the core of that pattern is? Right there, right? That's the part that keeps repeating over and over again. And if I wanted to extend this, what would it look like? What would be the next two shapes? Say it out loud. Did you say square, square? Good job. All right, let's look at one more repeating pattern. Oh, this time it is in numbers. So it's 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. Where is the core? Say it out loud. Did you say 1, 3, 5? Good job. Now, if I wanted to extend it 2 spaces, what numbers would I add? 1, 3. That's right. Okay, so those are repeating patterns. They go over and over and over again. Let's look at growing patterns. Well, let's look at this first one. It has 1 rhombus, 1 square, 2 rhombus, 2 squares, 3 rhombus, 3 squares. Can you see the pattern? Yes. What is happening to it? Each time it's getting a little bit bigger. So if I said 1 rhombus, 1 square, 2 rhombi, 2 square, 3 rhombi, 3 squares, what would you say would come next? Did you say 4 rhombi? That's right. And then what would come now after that? 4 squares. And then 5, 5, and on. Okay, so you can see how that pattern is growing. It's changing as it's getting bigger. But it's always changing at the same rate. They're adding 1 each time. How about with numbers? I see 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. I see the numbers are growing. So let's see, how are they growing? So between 6 and 9, how much did they grow? They grew by adding 3. How about between 9 and 12? They were adding 3 again. How about 12 and 15? Adding 3 again. How about to get from 15 to 18? I add 3 again. So now if I had to tell the next 2 numbers, what would I have to do? Add 3 to 18. So what would be 18 plus 3 more? Did you say 21? Excellent. How about if I added 3 more? What would be 21 plus 3 more? 24. Excellent. So I can see that I'm adding the same thing over and over again. That makes a growing pattern. So I wanted to look at these 2 patterns on the number line. So let's first start with the repeating pattern of 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5. It just stays in the same space, right? But let's look at the growing pattern. 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and we see that it's just going to keep going on down the number line. So now this is part of your practice set, and it's the pattern staircase. So work with me for a minute on step 1, and this is where you're going to use your squares. Let's put out 1 square and then color 1 block. And so down here where it says number of linking cubes, under step 1, I'm going to write a 1. Okay? Now step 2, I want you to put down 3 blocks or color 3 blocks. And for step 2, I'm going to say 3. We're making staircase. Remember how a staircase goes up. Let's look at step 3. I'm going to color 5, and I'm going to write down 5. And let's look at step 4. I'm going to color 7 and write down 7. Now you starting to see a pattern? I see a pattern in the way that the staircase are going up. So now I want you to pause your video and I want you to complete the rest of that pattern by yourself. And when you're done, come back and we're going to check it together. So make sure you put on your thinking cap and do it all by yourself, and we'll come back. Okay, let's check your work now. So On step 5, how many did you color? Did you color 9? And then step 6, 11. Step 7, 13. Step 8, 15. And then, oh my goodness, they did something. They have 2 more steps that I don't have any pictures to color. So what did you put down for step 9? 17. And then step 10, 19. Wonderful. So now let's look and let's look at on your practice set. Let's look at these words. Read it out loud with me. Using the pattern in the staircase and the numbers recorded in the chart, make a prediction of the number of linking cubes in step 15. Oh my goodness. Well, I could build it, right? I said 29, and let me show you how I reasoned it out. So if I started here and I was at 1, and then I did 3, and then I did 5, and then 7, then 9, then 11, 12, 15, 17, 19, then I would know that to continue that pattern, I'm going up how many? 2. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got at 29. The other thing I could say is that I was making 5 jumps of 2, which is 10. And I know that 19 plus 10 more would be 29. So let's answer the rest of it. It says, is there a pattern in the chart that helps you explain the answer? What did you write there? Yes, of course. And if there is, what was the pattern? Well, the pattern was adding 2. Each time I went up 2 more. So now it's time for you to work on your own. You can see in your practice set that there are 7 different things that you can choose from. Choose at least one of those patterns to create. I want you to model the pattern on graph paper or using your blocks. And then I want you to find the rule. Like for our last one, the rule was to add 2. So what is the rule on all of these? And then I want you to show me on Flipgrid. So make sure that I get to see what your pattern was, but then you have to explain why that pattern worked. All right, our learning target today was I can identify, describe, and create repeating and growing patterns. So thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye.